Welcome to InkThinks. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that no one has ever covered before and will be completely original. I'm going to be throwing my hat into the ring for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC Fighter Pass 2 predictions. Now I know what you're thinking. Ink, what a timely and original video concept. How could you possibly add anything more special to this conversation? Well, let me tell you. Now, if you stuck around with the channel for a while, you'll know that I'm a big believer in dismissing community rules that take patterns made by Nintendo and declare them as law. This is why I'm not a big believer that assist trophies disqualify, or that we can't have 2 DLC from the same company, or that fighters' names can't begin with the letter Q. That said, I'm really conflicted because while patterns don't necessarily make rules, I do think that patterns do at least provide some sort of framework to speculation. So while I was formulating this list, I didn't explicitly forbid myself from a fighter if they didn't fit a community-created rule, but I did take everything into consideration. Additionally, I have not viewed any other prediction lists from creators in nearly a year, so I'm hoping that my predictions will feel fresh, interesting, and get some new conversations started. So without further ado, here are my top 10 fighters that I feel have a decent shot at getting into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Roll the intro. Alright, we're going to start off this list with one that I feel fairly confident about. Nintendo and Monster Hunter have a long and healthy relationship, and we've seen representation already in Super Smash Bros., which is why I think that the Hunter from Monster Hunter has a decent chance of getting into Smash. The series is incredibly popular and has sold over 63 million copies across the series as of March 2020. We've already seen some sort of representation in the form of the Rathalos as a boss. One of Monster Hunter's strengths is its customizability, which gives you access to a wide array of armor and weapons that you can utilize to hunt monsters. I imagine that the Hunter would be playable as a male or a female, similar to Robin or Corrin. Also, because Nintendo seems set on giving each DLC character a gimmick, I could see the mechanic of loot drops coming into the game. When you deal a certain amount of damage to your opponent, they have a chance of dropping a special exclusive upgrade that only you can pick up that might boost offense or defense or speed. Monster Hunter seems like a super natural pick for Smash. I give his chances a 6 out of 10. Alright, next we have a very niche but noteworthy pick. In September 2018, Nintendo decided to try their hand at developing a mobile game, and with the help of Cygames, Nintendo published Dragalia Lost. Dragalia Lost is an action RPG that grossed over $50 million within just a couple of months of its release. And while it's never been a top earner for Nintendo, it still has an active, dedicated fan base and continues to see support from Nintendo as it brings in more and more money. In this game, the story takes place in the kingdom of Alberia, which is a kingdom full of dragons where a person can form a pact with a dragon in order to borrow their form in battle. When the kingdom is threatened, the prince sets off to save his land and complete his dragon selection trial. The prince would utilize an array of martial and magical attacks of different elements, kind of like a mix between Ness and Robin. I could also see the prince having a gauge that builds up similar to Joker's, and when it's full, he transforms into a dragon that deals incredible damage. While it might not be an immediately obvious pick to most people, I do think that it would make a lot of sense to represent Dragalia Lost in Smash Bros. I give his chances a 4 out of 10. We have seen with Ryu, Ken, and Terry that Nintendo likes bringing in main characters from other fighting games into Smash. Now, while a lot of people see Icy Lad or Bug Boy from Mortal Kombat as solid picks, I'm dedicating the next 2 spots to other fighting games that I think are just as likely, if not more. Starting with one of the most popular fighting games that's collaborated with Nintendo before. I'm talking about Soul Calibur. More specifically, Nightmare from Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur is an incredibly successful fighting game with 7 main installments, and they've even featured Link in one of their installments. Now, I was having trouble deciding if Nightmare or Siegfried would be a better representation of the series, but ended up landing on Nightmare because Smash Bros. Really needs some more villains, and Nightmare wields an awesome sword that would have a huge range. He would probably be a slow heavyweight who packs a serious punch. A lot of his attacks in Soul Calibur have this awesome elemental shadow effect that I think would be really cool to bring over. Now, a lot of people say that Heihachi from Tekken would be a better pick, to which I say, I don't care, I like Soul Calibur better, and I'm never going to talk about Tekken in my videos. I give Nightmare a 3 out of 10. Alright, so our next pick is from another popular fighting game, Tekken. Like Soul Calibur, Tekken is a Bandai Namco fighting game. It's also universally acclaimed and has many entries in the series. Unlike Soul Calibur that puts a heavy emphasis on weapons, Tekken focuses mostly on hand-to-hand combat with a system that revolves around blocks, throws, escapes, and ground fighting. Now, a lot of people think that Heihachi, the main villain of Tekken, would be a great pick, and I agree with them. I think Heihachi would be awesome. That said, I think Jin Kazuma would be the pick that I go with. His playstyle is relatively straightforward, revolving around punches, kicks, and pretty awesome acrobatics. That said, he can sometimes lose his cool and become Devil Jin and harness the power of explosions and lasers, and we always need more of that in Smash. I could see Jin having a rage mechanic where once he takes enough damage he becomes Devil Jin and has a much more aggressive playstyle. I think that Jin would be a great addition to the roster. I give Jin a 6 out of 10. Next up, we have a pick from one of my favorite Nintendo franchises that hasn't seen a new title in a long time. It used to have representation as an assist trophy in a previous Smash game, but it's since been removed for some odd reason. Ray Mark III from Custom Robo. Seriously, this series is so much fun, and if you haven't played it, I very, very highly recommend checking out either the GameCube game or the Nintendo DS game. Custom Robo is a game developed by Noise and published by Nintendo, where instead of fighting people with their fists, people build miniature custom robos to fight their battles for them. The most notable of which is the Ray line of robots, specifically Mark III. Between rocket boosters, jetpacks, guns, missiles, grenades, lasers, rockets, and more, Custom Robo has a huge variety of moves to choose from when creating a character. I also think that having a customized mechanic similar to that of the Mii fighters would be an awesome fit for Custom Robo, and in addition, it would just be a ton of fun to play. Now, I've heard some people say that number 1, Ray isn't technically first party, and number 2, his copyright has expired. To which I say, number 1, I don't care, he's close enough and the rights are easy enough to get probably for Nintendo. And number 2, that just isn't true. Copyrights last 70 years thanks to good old Mickey Mouse. I give Ray's chances of getting into Smash a 4 out of 10. Alright, I'm gonna be straightforward. This next pick is from a franchise that's probably gonna be controversial on this list. Our next fighter is from League of Legends. Whoa, okay, hear me out. League of Legends has been the number 1 most played game in the world for years running when comparing daily concurrent players. With almost 8 million people playing online at any given time, there is no denying that the game is incredibly popular across the world. I remember in February I went to Korea and there were entire cafes dedicated to playing the game. It's super influential worldwide and represents a genre that so far has no representation in Smash Bros. When compared with other competitive online games like Fortnite, it's much more established and has been around a lot longer. Out of all the characters in the game, it's really hard to nail down a single one that I feel represents the whole series. But Lee Sin the Blind Monk has been one of the most popular characters since the game's release, so I'm gonna go with him. His quick martial moveset seems like a natural fit for Smash, and I think he would fit well into the game, pretty seamlessly actually. Now, I'm not saying that a League rep is particularly likely, but I do think that it's something worth talking about. I give his chances a 2 out of 10. Alright, we're in the top 4 characters that I feel are most likely for Smash. If you've been around for a while, you're probably thinking, I can't believe it, Ink is gonna make a whole video without mentioning Impa in Smash. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but Impa is my pick for this slot. Zelda seriously needs better representation in Smash. We have 3 Links, 2 versions of Zelda and Ganondorf, but 0 non-Triforce wielding characters. I honestly would take Agatha at this point. But Impa is a much better pick. Impa is the handmaiden to Zelda and an icon of the franchise. She's appeared in more games than Sheik, Ganondorf, when you don't count Ganon as Ganondorf, Toon Link, and Young Link, with a total of 7 canonical appearances. She's such an obvious pick for the series, and it has so much potential for an awesome moveset revolving around quick Sheikah attacks with Naginata and magic. She would just be such a great pick, and it's so obvious that I can't wrap my head around why she's not yet included in the game. If she's not put in this next Fighter's Pass, I'm calling the police. I give Impa a 6.5 out of 10. Next we have Rayman. There's a lot that's been said about him, including my fever dream where I thought that I saw Rayman in the clouds of King K. Rool's reveal trailer, but he makes so much sense for Smash. Now I was also debating giving this spot to Crash or Spyro, but given the fact that I like Rayman more and this is my list, I'm gonna leave those 2 as honorable mentions. I grew up on Rayman's games and they're all super fun. My favorite was Rayman Arena for the Nintendo GameCube. He has a lot of potential and a really unique moveset by nature of how weird he is. There's a few criticisms that I've heard coming up about him. Number 1, he's already in Brawlhalla, to which I say, that kind of makes him more likely in my opinion. We've already seen that they're willing to work with the fighting game, and the two aren't exactly competing right now. And number 2, I've heard people say that his amiibo would be too hard to make, to which I say, are you serious? Like, do you honestly think, given everything we've seen the Smash team do, that an amiibo would be where they get stumped? Well, if you honestly think that, here's a few examples of how it might be able to work. Checkmate. I give Rayman a 6.5 out of 10. For our penultimate pick, we have Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I was a big critic of Sora for Fighter Pass 1, and freaking hit that one out of the park, he wasn't in it. But I do really think that he could be likely for Fighter Pass 2. For starters, we have seen that at least some people from the company are willing to work with the Smash team from a few tweets that I think disqualified him back in the first pack, but only strengthened my conviction for Fighter Pass 2. He's such a gaming icon that it's really weird that he hasn't already been added, and I can only think that Nintendo must have a reason for it. And I believe that that might be that they're saving him for a high-impact hype DLC pick. Now, I've heard some critics say that Sora can't be in the game because Disney, and frankly I think this is a really lazy argument, but we also need to specify that Disney Interactive is a gaming company, and it's totally separate from the company that creates Disney movies. So it's not like Sakurai is going to sit down with the creators of Frozen to hash out the details of a collaboration, but rather it would be a legitimate gaming company who hasn't shown any hesitancy in collaborating with other companies, which we can see by the very nature of what Kingdom Hearts is. I think that Sora is a really obvious choice that's honestly really likely. I give him an 8 out of 10. Alright, before we get to the last fighter, I want to take a minute to tell you about today's sponsor. As always, I'm going to put a timestamp to skip past this if you just want to see the video, but if you like what you see and you want to support me, then please hear me out. This week's video is brought to you by Audible. Last time I recommended Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk, but this week I have a very different recommendation. At the start of the year, I decided it would be awesome to get into the Star Wars universe, and I checked out the book Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, which kicks off the entire canon universe of Star Wars. It explores the adventures of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn before the events of Phantom Menace, and to be honest, it really puts the whole movie in a new light. The book is produced super well. It has sound effects, Star Wars music, lightsaber swooshes, and more, and what's even better, you can get it absolutely free by using the link in the description. And it gives me a little piece of the pie as well to say thanks for this video. So check it out if you would like. Our last fighter for the day is from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now, I wasn't too sure about this one until the ARMS pick was announced, and I think that Nintendo might be using this pass in some ways to fit in fighters who were too new to make it into Fighter Pass 1. I think that Xenoblade 2 came out right around the wrong time to be put into Smash, but I think its inclusion is a shoe-in for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Out of all the characters in the game, it seems that Rex may be the most obvious pick, but I've also heard of having Rex and Pyra as a duo, similar to Ice Climbers. Now, we've already seen some sort of Xenoblade 2 representation in Smash, as well as other Nintendo games like Breath of the Wild, and the game was incredibly popular at release. Rex has potential for a really awesome, unique moveset, and he's my #1 pick to be in Super Smash Bros. I give Rex a 9 out of 10. And there we have it. Those are my top 10 picks for Fighter Pass 2. Did any of them surprise you? Did any of them infuriate you? Let me know in the comments below, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. It makes my day to see each new subscriber or read the comments, and I read every single one. Also, consider stopping by my Discord. We have some really cool, fun, active people on there, and we'd love to have you there to hang out or discuss future videos. And until next time, stay smashing.